I need to go.
Welcome councillors, staff and gallery to the March meeting of council. In opening the council, I would like to pay our respect to those who have come before us as we grow in our understanding, our connection and our knowledge of their heritage and culture. I pay respect to the traditional custodians of these lands and the European settlers whose customs and traditions have been passed down through 6 generations. We're all in attendance, so there is obviously no apologies. We'll move to item 2, which is the confirmation of the previous minutes. They were the minutes held on the 18th of February 2025 at 5:30. Councillor Hearn moved and Councillor De Vries second. All those in favour? Carried. There's no matters arising. We go to items 3.2 and I have that wonderful duty again to recognise you, sir, Trevor Miller. Come on up. We're going to go in front so you're on camera. Oh, good. Yeah. There you go. You're under the spotlight, Trevor. That'll do. Trevor, they tell me that after 25 years of volunteering on behalf of the elected members, staff and all involved, all the other volunteers, thank you, a huge thank you for your incredible contribution to this council and to the community. You've clocked up a massive 1,640 hours, and do you know that you've travelled 44,440 kilometres? You've done a lap around the world. What did you see on your way?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. So, and you have done 263 trips over 25 years. So, that's a marvellous effort. So really, thank you so much. But on a bit of a sad note, hang in there, because I understand you're a passionate Port supporter. Yeah. The season's not lost. No. A bit wobbly to a start.
But doesn't make it fun.
Yeah, okay. They'll be all right, I'm sure. So, but I'm aware that through all of what you've done and all the trips you've made, I know that you're a friendly face to everybody, and it's been really, really appreciated. And you're always up for a chat, they tell me.
Oh, most times, yeah.
Most times, okay. And you're always ready to lend a hand. And look, that's what the volunteering is about, and this is what you have achieved, and we do sincerely thank you. They tell me they get nothing but glowing reports about you, you know. And that's a marvellous statement for a Port Power person, I must say. I jest, of course.
Of course.
So it's all about your drive, and you'll be hugely missed. And all the best. And on behalf of the council here, thank you sincerely so much for what you have done. Thank you, sir. Well done. Good on you. And all the best.
Well done.
Members, the next item is a deputation from Ms Mary Morris. Would you like to come up? And this is a deputation, of course, and from your agenda is the Twin Creek Wind Farm. So, welcome, Mary.
that be?
It will be coming.
He's coming, sorry, trying to get your volume down.
Hello. Thank you for allowing me to present this information this evening. From the Hansbury District Residents Group, we've been following the development of this project since 2012 when it first started up. I just wanted the Barossa Council to be aware of what we think the impact is going to be in the district, and appreciate that you've already made a submission to SCAP about the objectives of the Character Preservation District, but this is really more just about general awareness for the council members and information for the community about what the project's about. So it was previously approved in 2019. That was a Category 2 notification, which meant only the immediate neighbours could make a representation. It wasn't open to any other representations from any other body. And then that development was 51 turbines, 180 metres tall. But they've walked away from that application, and now this new development will be 42 turbines, but they're much taller, with a bigger rotor, and they're much closer to the Barossa because they bought out a property where one of the farmers was opposed to the project. He didn't want to live there and have the power line through his property, so they bought that out, and that allowed them to move an extra 6 turbines in closer south. So that's the new layout, and as you can see, the Barossa Council is not in the immediate vicinity of it, but the white dots are the turbines, the purple dots are houses around it. The red coming down towards Truro is the high voltage transmission line, which comes within 1.8 k's of the Character Preservation District. So this is Res Australia's map. The pink bits there show where you'll see 31 to 42 turbines from in the Barossa Valley, and so you can see, and that is at the hub height. So half of the rotor, you'll see at least half of the blade, the fan, from within that pink area, which is, as you can see, quite a substantial bit of the Barossa Valley floor. And this is also the map that shows what the relative degree of change of the visual impact would be. So the pinky bits, which are off towards Kapunda and out towards the Dutton, are substantial, and then the yellow, which as you can see is a lot of the Barossa Valley floor, and also elevated regions like Mopper, the Barossa Cellar, Golf Links Road, Golf Course Road, have got a really only slightly less than substantial visual impact, and that's on the company's own landscape architect assessment. So I think a lot of people in the Barossa think, oh, it's going to be over the Kapunda side or it's down over the other side, you won't see it, but it's actually on the top of those hills there, which is a photo from the Barossa Ballooning's website. So above Ebenezer and St Kitts, it's actually quite a lot of undulation and high peaks there, and that's where it'll be. We didn't really realise where you would be able to see it from until 2023 when they put out their first ever photo montage of what it would be like from the intersection of Belvedere Road and the Kapunda Truro Road, and then you could see that they were all there. At least some of them you could see the whole blade, whole fan about 6 k's away, and some of them you could see the whole tower and then receding back into the background. So these turbines will be in a block, not a line. And if you have been to Waterloo or Borough, looked at those turbines, Waterloo turbines are, some of them are 125 metres high, some of them 145, and these ones will be 220. So if you're driving into Marrable from Saddleworth and you look across to the north east, You can see them on the skyline, and that's about 15 k's away. So that gives you an idea of what the visual impact is for those smaller turbines from that distance. So this is a photo taken from Marble Quarry Road, looking up at the top of the hills where it'll be. So that's, I guess, Kununga, in between there and that. If you see that little line of trees on the top there, that's a bit of a marker for wherever you are in the Barossa. It's just on the other side of those trees. This is from 404 Mopper Road, so you can see, you'll see virtually all of them, the whole turbine, not just the tip of the fan or whatever. We've had some mapping done by Stuart Adrain, who's a cartographer. We've given him the turbine locations and he's mapped them into the landscape, and that's what you'll see from 404 Mopper Road looking towards the turbine site. Again, that's just up near Kleinig's Vineyard. This is from the Truro Road near Belvedere Road corner, so that line of trees on the horizon, you can see the turbines are behind there. And that is what they'll look like from that position. Now note that that is quite low down, so when you get higher up, like say at Mopper or the Golf Course Road or even the Barossa Cellar, you're not looking at them behind the hill, you're looking straight at them across the valley. So that is from the Barossa Cellar. So yes, it's zoomed in, but that tree there is not as big as a real tree, and that is the view of where they'll be. We've actually, using Stuart Adrain's cartographer, we've mapped it onto this, mapped the turbines onto this image. So, and I know people have said to me, "Oh, they won't look that big from there." I'm happy to be proved wrong. They mightn't look that big from there when they're built, but they're definitely in that location. This is the last slide, and this is from a viewpoint near Stockwell on the Sturt Highway. So when you look across, I guess if you're facing, what's that direction? Towards Kapunda, they'll be up on the skyline there, and that's the arrangement you'll see. And that's the end of my slides, but I guess I'm not that far from the Waterloo Wind Farm, and my experience comes from my own community that have lived with that wind farm since 2010. Have I run out of time yet?
You've got a minute.
Right, so with Waterloo, it was built in 2010, but there was supposed to be a parallel wind farm at Robertstown. There's Waterloo Range, Black Range, Robertstown Range. Along here there were supposed to be turbines. There were 14, landowners signed up. And these are all people we know in our district. You can't see the Waterloo Wind Farm from the Robertstown Range because the Black Range is higher in between. So the Waterloo Wind Farm starts up in 2010, and everybody along this other range goes, "What's that noise?" I can hear it from 7, 8, 9 k's away, and the EPA says it's not a problem because they measure everything with dBA, and that doesn't take into account the low frequency noise which persists for longer. So 9 of those 14 landowners pulled out of that project, and so it's dead in the water. So that is where my experience comes from. A number of my friends who were at Waterloo, farmers there, have moved to Kapunda because their low frequency noise vibrates their house. And I guess that's a feature of low frequency noise, it's like a vibration. 2007, the RAN government took low frequency noise and vibration out of the South Australian noise policy. So the EPA is perfectly right in saying if it meets 40 dBA, statistically over a 6-week period, then it's compliant. The trouble is, it's not so much the audible noise that's causing the problem. It's the low frequency noise and the vibration. And that does have implications for here, because if people are 7, 8, 9 k's away from the Waterloo wind, from this wind farm it's built, it will be compliant because the rules don't work. We're having a meeting at the Vine Inn on Thursday, just neutral information about what's in the application and how people might put in a submission. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for that. As you've indicated, council made a decision back in December, I think, and we had to wait for this consultation period, and I understand from staff that our submission's gone in line with the character preservation. Is there any questions that you may have?
So where to from here?
Where to from here? It's on notification, so people can put in a representation up until the 4th of April. And following that, SCAP will take a few months to look at those things and give the proponent an opportunity to respond to everything that's in the submissions. Then they will hold a hearing where people that indicated in their representation they wanted to speak more can provide more information that they have accumulated in the interim. And the last time around, what we did for that, in that gap, was we got some of our own experts to prepare reports and speak at that thing. And I guess the issues for SCAP will make a recommendation to the Minister. It's a Crown decision. So Minister Nick Champion will go yes or no for this. I think there is a very big hole in the Character Preservation District and the wind farms DPA in that they haven't included that range on the part of the Preservation District that specifically restricts wind farms from going there. So, I don't know. We're going to go through the process. We've got our cartographers to say this is where it's going to be. We know exactly how visible it's going to be in some places because and I've got these documents here. I'll leave it with the Mayor if he wants to distribute them. We know the heights of the turbines, we know the elevation at which they're sited, so you can just easily work out that turbine T7, its space is at 481 metres elevation and it's 220 metres tall. So the Mount Rufus Tower base, which you can see from a lot of places.
Ms Miller, I think we'll.
Sorry.
I think you answered where to from here. It'll go through that process and then we'll go from there.
To put in a submission if they think there's an issue.
And that's the process that we've.
Yes,
Yeah. Councillor De Vries.
Thanks for making your submission. Assuming, what would be a reasonable compromise in your opinion? Because I doubt that they would just kill it outright, but if you were trying to get a better outcome than the one that you've outlined, what would be reasonable in your view?
They would be less visible from the Barossa.
So maybe the 180 rather than,
180.
yeah.
Yeah, they can still go back to the original layout because they've still got that application active in the SCAP system.
And that would be a preferable outcome from your point of view?
Yes, it would be preferable.
Okay.
However, apart from the visual impact on the Barossa, there's also a few other issues they've highlighted, which is the fact that it will have the importance of Mount Rufus Tower for all the emergency communications. So that means that if the Mount Rufus Tower's here, everything out there can't get through. And there's also, they've cited Bureau of Meteorology radar interference as well, and also we don't know if they will put aviation lighting on it. So that might be an issue that people in the Barossa might raise. Is it all going to be covered in red flashing lights and be that visible from here? Is that the look we want?
So to avoid that and perhaps go back to the original footprint, that would be your
Yes, from the Barossa.
would be a reasonable outcome, if not perfect, yeah.
The problem with that for the company is that the whole area is chock full of blue tongue lizards. They had to put in a referral to the Federal Environment Department. Previously, the Federal Environment Department asked them for this huge list of information about how they were going to prevent impacts to this lizard, which was previously thought extinct. And up to last week, in 6 years, they haven't provided one word of information back to the EPBC. So I believe they have walked away from that application because they don't want to provide that information. So they've started a new application. The lizards are all still there. They're still protected under the Act. The conservation advice still says avoid putting large infrastructure projects in the habitat and presence of pygmy blue tongue population. So that literally should stop it, but it literally depends on if we get a change of government, because Chris Bowen and Tanya Pickster are approving everything without even reading it, basically.
I think we need to, if you've got a question, no, okay. I think we'll,
Yes,
thank you.
very much.
No, thank you very much for your presentation.
I'll leave these with Janine and,
Yeah, terrific. Thank you.
thank you. Thanks for your time.
Councillors, questions on notice. Some questions from Councillor Priest on various matters. We need to note and receive those questions on notice. Would someone like to note and move Councillor De Vries, seconded Councillor Barrett. All those in favour? Carried. Mayor's report. I just Mayor's report. I just might add that last long weekend Monday, I attended an awards, SACA Awards, and this was for the Community Cricket Awards, and the Barossa Council, along with the Barossa and Light Cricket Association, has won an award for its community partnership. SACA has made this award possible through the combination of what this council's been involved in with our building of our club rooms and different facilities at various locations, and the cooperation that has come from that. I'll have some more details in the next Mayor's report, but I'd bring it to your attention tonight because you'll read all about it in the paper tomorrow. So, it just, the recognition and the feedback is really, really pleasing for the effort that's gone in by everybody. Mayor's report on page 7. Any questions? Someone like to move the Mayor's report? Councillor Evans moved and seconded Councillor Lane. All those in favour? Carried. Item 6, there's a number of items there for information. Any particular question in relation to those? If not, we'll move on. Any questions? We'll move to item 7.1.1, and that's the management of discretionary reserve balances. On page 74, there was a little bit more information that was circulated in regards to that. Any questions? Yep, there's those in red. On the condition where the funds are released to the organisations, they agree it will be utilised for its foundation purposes and shall consult with the relevant group representatives. And the recommendation is as attachment 1. Any questions? Move Councillor De Vries. Seconded Councillor Troop. Either one wish to speak to it?
I guess it's sensible.
No further comment. All those in favour? Carried. Item 7.1.2 is the Australian Local Government Association Federal Election Platform on page 78, with some items there noted. Any questions?
Yeah, when will we receive the final report on this? Isn't there another report coming from the federal government? Where I read it, if I read it properly, no?
Through you, Mr Merritt, you're Councillor Priest, I think you're referring to the inquiry into local government. That was in the information reports. This is the lobbying position that ALGA's putting up.
Yeah, it's from the local government
The
of
answer to that
Australia.
is yes.
Yep. There's a recommendation there on page 78. Moved Councillor Angus and seconded Councillor Troop. Either one wish to speak? No further comment. All those in favour? Carried. Seven point 1.3 is the Community Infrastructure Development, Barossa Rams Rugby Club Incorporated, capital contribution, loan and funding on page 82. Moved Councillor De Vries and seconded Councillor Evans. Either one wish to speak? Councillor Evans, you're fine? Yep. No further comment. All those in favour? Carried. 7.1.4 is the Community Infrastructure Development, Barossa District's Football and Netball Club Incorporated, including the Lindot Cricket Club, capital contributions and loan funding on page 93. Any questions?
Yeah, I just have one.
Councillor Priest?
Seems the rugby club are borrowing 300,000. Why is it they're only borrowing 200,000, not 300,000 or more? Because the asset seems to be greater.
Through you, Mr Mayor, thanks Councillor Priest. They're paying a component of cash out their bank account as well. They only need to borrow that much.
Thank you. Move the recommendation, please. Move Councillor De Vries. Councillor Priest, could you just turn your mic off, please? Seconded Councillor Lane. Either one wish to speak?
Same as before.
No further comment. All those in favour? Carried. Seven point 1.5 on page 106 is the 2025 Small Towns Conference at Kapunda. Page 106 with a recommendation there. Councillor Barrett and seconded Councillor De Vries. Either one wish to speak to it? No further comments. All those in favour? Carried. 7.2.1 is the monthly finance report as of the 28th of February 2025 on page 113. 113 with a recommendation receive the monthly financial report. Any questions? Either one wish to speak? No further comment. All those in favour? Carried. Item 7.3.1, the Barossa Bush Gardens Memorial Tree on page 116. Any
So
questions?
No.
Yes.
Councillor Priest. No, Councillor Angus, sorry.
Can we get the names correct in this item? I think it's vitally important. The lady's name was Frances, not faces. She was called Fran, but I'm pretty sure her name is Frances. And I'm very happy to move the recommendation. And it's a couple of places it's referred to like that, and I think it needs to be corrected.
Any question, councillor Priest?
Sorry, I have my light on.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Greatwich.
I'd like to second the motion if I may, please.
Have I got a mover?
John, I believe.
Oh, you move. Move councillor Angus and seconded councillor Greatwich.
Thank you very much.
Either one wish? Okay,
Only to endorse it wholeheartedly.
thank you. No further comment. All those in favour? Carried. 7.3.2, consideration and adoption of committee resolutions, the Barossa Bush Gardens on page 126. Any questions? Seconded councillor De Vries. Either one wish to speak? All those in favour? Carried. Seven point 3.3, open space resourcing on page 136. Any questions?
I'm happy to move that.
Moved councillor Angus,
What we need.
seconded councillor Evans.
That's what we need. We need to do.
Either one was okay. No further comments. All those in favour? Carried. Page 139. 7.4.1 is the dog registration fees for 2025, 2026. Any questions from any dog owners?
Councillor Angus?
John, we're all waiting to cede to your...
It's a recommendation. There's a recommendation there with those fees outlining for adoption.
Well, Mayor, I will share with the chamber that we lost a dog on Friday night who'd been with us for 14 years, and I normally vote against the dog registration fees, but I realise that I won't get a rebate on the unused portion, but there you go. So I will move the recommendation in its entirety. And God bless our old dog Mac.
Yeah, okay. Moved councillor Angus and seconded councillor De Vries, sorry. No further comment? Commiserations. All those in favour? All, go again, please, I just need to... Councillor? All those in favour? Carried. Page 146. Page 146, 7.4.2 is the Green Industries SA. Council Modernisation Grant Funding Opportunity. Page 146, any questions? Councillor Evans, moving? Moved councillor Evans, seconded councillor Schilling. Either one wish to speak to it? Put the motion, all those in favour? Carried. Page 151. Is 4.3 is the draft Barossa Growth and Infrastructure Investment Strategy Phase 1. Councillor Hearn.
Yes, I'd like to move the motion.
I'll just see if there's a
when
question
questions,
first. I've got that noted, but any questions? Councillor Angus.
Oh, sorry.
Well, if this motion is accepted, can we alter it if we don't like it in its entirety?
Well, I haven't accepted the motion yet, so, well,
I can answer that.
Huh?
I can answer that.
you can answer that one?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Councillor Angus, it's a strategy. You could always change a strategy. Really, this is a starting point to then do further investigations.
For clarification of his question.
No, I think we'll stay with where we're at. Yep, okay. Any other questions?
Maybe I can elaborate if that helps.
Okay, thank you.
Any resolution of the council and strategy can be altered through resolution of the council.
Can be altered. Yep.
I was just curious as to what John's concern was, that's all.
I'll let you know in a minute.
Okay.
We can tease it out
Yeah.
when we go through the process.
I think Mike.
Question?
Oh, hello. Thank you. Apologies, through the mayor. Yes, I was wondering the same thing, if we could please amend the recommendation before, or consider to do so before moving with this strategy proposal.
I'll take Councillor Angus, sorry, Councillor Hearn will move. If he doesn't get a seconder, that's it. And then if we get a mover and a seconder, you can have an amendment, I suppose. It depends what it is. It depends if it's only a minor amendment, otherwise you've got to defeat the motion.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to accept the Councillor Hearn's move and see if there's a second, and then we can tease it out from there. So Councillor Hearn, you're moving the recommendation as stated. Is there a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Troop. Councillor Hearn, you can speak to the motion.
Thank you, Mayor. And this little spiel that I'm going to make may allay some fears in the chamber, but the strategy has been going on for some 18 months, probably longer, and we've all spoken at length with the public, and we now have to make a decision based on that info before us. So I understand that it's been broken into two parts so we can debate the more contentious matters later on. I understand there may be some of us that have differences of opinion, but we need to put it to the vote and get on with it. At the end of the day, it's just a strategy, as the CEO pointed out. It's not amending the rule book, and we have people and businesses awaiting the outcome of this decision. So if you turn to page 152, you will see that there are three key objectives that have underpinned the project vision. They are: provide strategic direction for land use and infrastructure planning. 2, provide greater investment certainty about where the Barossa will grow and what infrastructure is necessary to support this growth. 3, enable council to better target expenditure in infrastructure and align it with growth priorities. So I must emphasise once again that the motion before us is a phase 1 report. The strategy has been split into 2, thus enabling the parts of the draft strategy that received the strongest level of support through the 3rd consultation phase, and which fundamentally sound recommendations and proposals in line with the 4 overarching themes outlined in this strategy. So it needs to be noted that at this time it is simply a strategy. Council will need to prioritise that strategy, and if it wishes to pursue and undertake the next level of investigations and policy development before anything actually can be put to the Minister for amendment. So this approach enables the Council to proceed with the strategy, and I implore elected members to support this motion before us to finally get the ball rolling. Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Troop? Okay. Any comments?
May I speak?
Councillor Angus?
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I agree almost in entirety with Councillor Hearn, with the exception of the inclusion of the Cramers Crossing item, only because it is so raw after the event. We've been proved that this is not what the community sees as the ideal use for that land, even if it is the ideal use. And I have said often, time and again, that a hotel in that location may not be out of the question, but perhaps not that one and not now, and not under the way it was tried to be gone about. I think to include the Cramers Crossing in the kind of the green tick at this stage is just flying in the face of public opinion.
Agree.
But I'm happy to support every other aspect of phase 1. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Evans?
Thank you, through the Mayor. I echo the words of Councillor Angus, and would like to also quickly bring to your attention page 197, I believe, where the report at point 6.3 subsection 1 mentions water infrastructure and refers to the Barossa New Water Project being a key opportunity in this regard, presenting a genuine opportunity for the region. Can I please ask that that is removed, because the Barossa New Water Project was refused on both grounds and is no longer active, to my knowledge, for our region? Is that correct? To your understanding?
Well, nothing's been refused. The business case didn't stack up for that particular investigation.
Well, SA Water came back and said it was going to cost a lot more than what it was proposed, and then
But it is,
they
it is
set-
actually still a live strategy in the
over.
Barossa Water Security Plan,
really.
really. It's
Okay.
that the business case didn't stack up.
Okay, thank you. I was told otherwise, that's all, but I'm not refuting. I agree. I just wonder what your understanding was for the present time. Oh, just raising a point of contention. I just needed clarification for that. Thank you.
Councillor Priest.
Can I just ask a brief question through the chair?
Somebody's got a light on.
Oh.
Just a brief question. The Cramers Crossing, can an amendment be moved to have that taken out, removed from this, through an amendment, through the chair? Because if so, I'd like to move an amendment to have that removed. No,
No, hang on. It is. To take that out,
Well, it's amending the basis of one of the recommendations.
yeah, but it's it's more than an amendment.
That's your call.
Yeah,
But if the mover and the seconder are willing to,
yes, the
To
mover
do
and the
that.
second are willing to take it out.
then we do that as a variation.
The mover and the second, are you happy for?
Yes.
Yes.
You are happy to take it out?
That's the simplest way to do it.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Okay,
Sure.
it's taken out, so. Councillor De Vries.
Question through you to the CEO, Your Worship. So in practical terms, if it's removed and then we deem that the community have a change of view, what happens? Does it just go back in when we get to phase 2, or in practical terms, what does this mean? Because we're only endorsing part of the strategy, but it's not being. Am I right in saying it's not being implemented till it's all done?
Through you, Mr Mayor. So, and thanks, Councillor Breeze. Fundamentally, all we're getting to, this is getting us to the starting gate on the majority of things that we have a reasonable agreement around.
My
We then
understanding-
need to prioritise which bits you want to do first.
Yep.
Do the investigations, give you the policy recommendations before we can actually then get it to the government to say, are you interested in changing the rules? So the answer to your question is yes. You can include things and take things out whenever you like.
Right.
This is a strategy to implement based on where your priorities are and what the ultimate investigations, because this is doing the high-level investigation, then you still got to say, well, okay, the biggest important thing is to look at heritage protection and densification in the CPDs. So we then need to go and do those studies and bring that information back and say, well, this bit will work well, this bit won't. And if you want to go that way, this is how I would structure the policy. Then we need to go and talk to the minister about whether he's happy to do that. This has got at least 2 to 5 years to run, because you chunk this off bit, but you can't do all that at once. You'll never get anything done.
So in practical terms, all we're doing is we're parking that for the time being to tease out the community's willingness or otherwise.
Well, through you, Mr Mayor, the second phase is to look at all those other components
So this
that still need further conversation. And then obviously there were the things that we've said, these are no-goes. They're gone.
So we're effectively sticking it in the second phase.
Well, that's up to you. But let's get phase 1 done, and then we can come back to you with what's in the list of phase 2.
I think I get it. All right, thanks.
Any further? Councillor Barrett.
Yeah, I've got a few comments on, rather than questions, on what has been presented to us by this particular organisation. And I'll just refer you to a few of these. When I read the 2,559 pages of appendices, over the weekend, it was a bit hot, so I stayed inside. I constantly read about at pages 60 and 61 and pages 1,059 and 1,060 about the hospitals within the Barossa area and also the clinics and the doctors. The only trouble is, the people who authored this report, you've got the Barossa Hills and Fleurieu Local Health Network, and they relied on the Barossa part of the network. They didn't think about including Mount Pleasant. That's in the Barossa Council, and Mount Pleasant should have been included in that report. They half alluded to it later on in the latest iteration, where they actually did mention the Mount Pleasant Hospital, but in the first report that they put out, and they repeated it a couple of times, they totally left out Mount Pleasant Hospital and also the Tulunga Clinic. And the next area of concern is they also mentioned the old Mount Pleasant ambulance station. It's been defunct for many years now, and there's a brand new ambulance station over in Burwood. And in fact, the new owners of the old ambulance station wrote and let the authors of this report know that it is no longer an ambulance station. But in the very latest report, at page 227 of our agenda, they were again referring to an ambulance station. There is no ambulance station. And this is what we're now expected to then consider development on stuff that is not accurate. And then I move down under page 242 of our council agenda, and it talks about Springton, and it says quite explicitly, the town has no watercourses. As I drive along Redford Road and Hamilton Road, there are fords and there are flood depth indicators as the watercourse winds its way through the town. It's total inaccuracies, and I just wonder what goes on with these consultants when they put some of these reports together. So they are my concerns and what gets presented to me as an elected member, and I just despair at times, and I do have concerns, but on what has been presented by Councillor Hearn and what other members are saying, I'm of a similar ilk. But if I don't speak now about these things like this that gets presented, it will never change. And whether the CEO could just advise these people or the relevant director, I'm getting information fed to me that is not factually correct. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Barrett. Councillor Greatwich.
Just wanted to briefly echo those concerns, and I've raised my concerns with the way that this process has been managed the whole way through. I cannot in good faith I understand what's been said about moving it forward, but I cannot, in good faith, raise my hand to say I endorse a document which is factually inaccurate. So if you can't take the time to Google whether there is still an ambulance station operating in a town or not, I'm not prepared to trust anything else that they have to say. I raised significant concerns around the way information was presented in the last iteration of this. And it leaves me in this really awful, awkward position where in good faith, I cannot endorse something which is not accurate. And I would like to ask the question how much we've paid for this. I don't know whether that's in commercial, in confidence, but there have been issues with these consultants presenting what I would consider to be substandard work since the very beginning of this process. So that's where I sit in my own capacity. I know that I am required under legislation to make decisions under a particular framework, but I cannot stand there and say, yes, I can endorse something which is inaccurate.
Just for clarification, if you can clarify, when we're looking at the recommendation in the phase one and the phases we're talking about being split up, is there any critical pinch point related to that other document in what we are now moving a motion on? You get where I'm coming from?
Through the Mayor, I think I understand the question. No, I don't believe anything in that document impacts phase one. Phase one were the low-hanging fruit, so to speak, that we're going to... Agreed, with the exception of Cromer's Crossing. Absolutely.
So that's the point I just want to make, is that this is the work that staff have come back with based on our discussions, and this is what we're voting on and discussing now. Okay?
Councillor Evans.
Thank you, through the Mayor. I was wondering if just a quick question for Jake, if I may. Just to refresh, when we last discussed, it may have been in confidence, it's just in the back of my mind, but did we not have a couple of items in the strategy that were marked in yellow or orange that we were going to revisit before deciding on? Was that ever concluded, or was that, because I thought the Sandy Creek Golf Club, I thought that was in one of those holding bay items, but I see here it's a go and a green light, so I'm just quickly checking that process that was clarified and done, because I thought there were a few rural to tourism proposals that we were going to come back and revisit with tracts of land. Thank
Through
you.
the Mayor, thanks, Councillor Evans. So
Thank you.
so all the amber ones or items have been parked for phase two. I believe Aaron might be able to clarify exactly what they were, but there were some green ones that were subject to some debate that we moved to phase two as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Cromer's Crossing was the only amber item that was moved into phase one.
Okay, thank you. Yep. Thank you very much.
Hang on. Can you just let us get the
I've
resolution?
probably got to say you've spoken once, so.
So that's just
I have spoken.
No, I haven't
No,
spoken.
you haven't, you've asked
No.
the question.
Yeah, just a question, yeah. Just to follow up on Councillor Greatwich, can we have through the chair, the CEO answer the questions that, the poor quality of the report from these people, as the councillor rightly said? And the costs, can we be told the cost, or is that
We can tease that out. I don't think that's
Okay.
relevant with the motion that
All
we're
right.
dealing with now. The cost isn't nothing relevant, as we just...
Okay, any further comments?
Yeah, we need to actually, which strategy, through you, Mr Mayor, Jay, which strategy is Cromer's, so we can get the resolution right? Which number?
Yeah.
I'm quickly looking.
Donald, no.
No, it's,
Cromer's got a KROE.
yes, it has.
I've got 303.
Figure 33.
Page 257.
257, you say?
The removal. Item 7 on page
Item
257.
7, yeah.
Item 7.
No, just a quick, to draw your attention to page 303, they also refer to the Crammers Crossing and rezoning there in number 32 in a graph. I don't know if you wanted to take that out as well, perhaps. Just have a look at that one. Page 303. Is that okay? You're okay with that? Yep, all right, good, thank you.
So all clear with item 7, the rezoning, rural zone, tourist development zone in St Under. It was moved by Councillor Hearn. Do you, any further comment? If not, you can close the debate, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. It's very good that we can discuss this issue in the chamber before we vote on something as important as this. But as we've seen, the CEO has given us some information and we've withdrawn things already and we haven't got to the debate next stage. So all we're doing is crossing the starting line to get the whole situation underway. And I concur with Councillor Greatwich that if these things aren't quite up to speed with the ambulance and Councillor Barrett, you know, that can be fixed at the next stage. And there, I think, the things that the Mayor was talking about. But I encourage you just to really get this going. It is important for industry in the Barossa Valley and a lot of the towns need this to be moving forward. And we're here to make the tough decisions and I just ask that you pass this motion.
Closes the debate. All those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. Thank you. 7.4.4 on page 328 is the Gawler River Flood Management Authority 2025-2026 draft annual business plan and draft budget 328. Any questions? So recommendation. Councillor De Vries, seconded Councillor Hearn. Either one wish to speak to it? Any comments? Councillor Angus.
With Mr. Casler behind me, just the notion of raising the dam wall another 10 metres, would they not have to start almost again with 10 metres, 30 feet on top of what's already there? It seems to me the original structure was grossly inadequate. And would it stand another 10 metres? Is this going to be a project that is just going to end up costing tens of millions, not hundreds of thousands?
It was grossly inadequate simply because their modelling at that time was all incorrect. It was meant to be 1 in 100, it ended up being 1 in 50.
Actually,
CEO.
3, Mr Mayor. I actually think it was a little bit less.
Yeah.
I think it was about 1 in 40.
Yeah.
I can only talk about my work when I was involved in the business case, and Mr Mavica can correct me if I'm wrong, but any raising of the height has had a preliminary assessment done on the structural integrity. Any raising of the height obviously has a significant risk that would need a hell of a lot more design and work to be done. But the reality is it won't be hundreds of thousands, it'll be hundreds of millions.
Yes, that's right. Well, being optimistic. No.
All those in favour? Carried. 7.4.5 is the relocation of the gallery services during the Barossa Creative Industries Centre built time on 353. Any questions?
the recommendation.
Councillor De Vries and seconded Councillor Troop. Either one wish to speak?
Nope, needs to be done.
No further comment. All those in favour? Carried. Seven point 4.6, budget adjustment for the Barossa Cookery Book Reserve Fund on page 358. 358. Questions? Move Councillor Priest. Seconded Councillor Hearn. Either one wish to speak? Food's important. It's all in metric. All those in favour? Carried. That brings us to two confidential items, councillors. So I will seek that we move into confidence.
Could I just ask a question before you do that?
Is it relevant to?
Yeah, relevant to what's coming up.
No, I think we'll wait until we go into confidence.
It's not going to.
Okay.
Just a question is the 8.1.1. Why does that need to go into confidence? Because that's for.
Okay, that's a relevant question. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
Through you, Mr Mayor, it simply needs to go into confidence at this point in time because the Commonwealth has requested it whilst we negotiate the funding agreement.
Okay.
Thank you. Moved Councillor De Vries and seconded Councillor Evans. We go into confidence. All those in favour? Carried. Councillor De Vries and Councillor Evans.
actually open technically?
I move we go into confidence.
Yeah, we were just going to
You
do
gotta go
a
into
jig along
confidence
here first. Okay.
I move we go into confidence.
Moved councillor Angus and seconded councillor Hearn. All those in favour, we go into confidence. Carried.
So what's it, which one's these? Oh, sorry.
Councillors, that concludes our March meeting of council. Our next scheduled meeting, ordinary meeting, is the 15th of April 2025 at 5:30. With that, I formally close the March meeting of council.